Hey everybody. So this is a Joe's Garage First. Because I like you guys so much, I spent some of my own money to buy some trash. So a lot of the junk that I pick up on the side of the road. This one I actually paid some money for. It is a 3600 PSI pressure washer, made by DeWalt obviously. It has a Honda GX200 pump engine, a commercial grade Honda. It has a AAA pump, which is supposedly bad. No obvious signs of a problem, but the guy said that it ran, but it just didn't make pressure. No unusual noises or leaks that he noticed. Didn't verify any of that, just kind of picked it up yesterday and brought it home. This pressure washer is made for DeWalt by FNA Corporation, which is the same company that owns Simpson. They also make pressure washers. I did notice that this handlebar appears to come from a different machine because of the different paint color, so I'm not sure what that's all about. So I think our first order business is going to see if it runs. Before we do that, let's see if it has oil. These Hondas have a low oil shutdown, thankfully, so it's kind of hard to run them out of oil. There does appear to be plenty in here. We'll do the same on the pump, make sure it has oil. There's a sight glass, and I do see oil in there, so we're fine. All right, so now I'm going to hook up the garden hose, and we'll see what happens. There's our water. Let's turn this on and see what happens. Should get water coming out the back, and we do. That's a good sign. All right, now let's try and crank it up and see what happens. So we'll go from off to on, give ourselves some fuel. That's a little stiff. And we'll do full choke. Let's see what happens. All right, so I didn't see any change in pressure with the engine running versus non-running. So yeah, I think we can confirm there's something wrong with the pump. The engine only likes to run on full choke, so we're probably going to have some carburetor work to do there, but that's not unusual. Next step, let's shut the water off. We'll get this thing up on the bench, and we'll pull part of the pump apart and see if we can figure out what's going on. Say that 3 times fast. Okay, got it up on the bench, took the handlebars off just for some easier access. And one of the reasons I bought this unit, aside from just needing something to entertain you guys with, is it's very popular. And kind of popular in a good way and a bad way. So there's a lot of them out there, but there's also a lot of problems with them. These pumps are not very good quality, apparently. I learned that when researching this unit. So we're going to see if we can save this pump. Parts are not that expensive, and I have an idea of what might be wrong with it already. So we're going to test that theory out. So what I'm doing first is I'm loosening these screws. We got to take off this thermal pressure, not thermal pressure, it's a thermal relief valve. So if the pump gets too hot, if you run it without squeezing the trigger and just let the heat build up, this thing will open up and vent the hot water onto the ground, so it doesn't overheat the pump. So I'm just using a 5/8 wrench. It feels like it might be a metric fastener because 5/8 doesn't fit perfectly, but it's good enough. Unscrew that. And we'll use our 5mm Allen key. Just go after these other bolts. It looks like there are 6 of them. You can get parts for this pump. They're not too expensive. They're not too super cheap either. You can get the whole pump for like 260 bucks. This piece right here, the manifold, all by itself, you buy that separately, is about 200 though. I'm hoping we don't have to put any money into this thing. Actually, you know what, before I take this completely off, I'll take off these caps up here. So I got my 10mm Allen socket. And crack these loose. The reason I'm doing this, I want to be able to get a good visual on the valves to see if they're damaged. pretty good idea of where the problem is in this unit, but we'll see if I'm right. So far the valves are looking okay. They don't look cooked at all. Sometimes if you run this pump without water, or things get too hot for any reason, the valve casing will melt because it's made of plastic. Let's also get this unloader off. This is where I think the problem really is. I have a feeling that thing is stuck open. But again, I could be wrong. So just unscrew this. Looks like someone's been in there too. Let's get a wrench on there. 7/8 wrench seems to fit okay. What this unloader does is when you let go of the trigger, release it, there's going to be a pressure spike in the pump because the pump is still running because the engine's still turning it. So that water pressure has to go somewhere. And where it goes, it just bypasses internally inside the pump, and this is what allows that to happen. So I think our problem is in here, but let's do a full disassembly and really take a good look at things. The reason I took that off now is because that may have been harder to loosen when we didn't have the mass of the engine and the pump and everything holding it. Just would have been more difficult to disassemble. So let's finish taking all these Allen bolts out. Take note that these are different lengths too. So I think there's 2 different sizes. Actually, was there? Yeah, it looks like the long one came out of here, short one came out of here and down here. Let's see what size this one is. That was another long one. 2 more. Okay, that was a short one. This is the last one. Probably also going to be a short one. Nope, that was a longer one. So we have 3 long, 3 short. The long were long, 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 short, short, short. That's of course assuming that whoever worked on this before us did it correctly. All right, so now to take this off, just kind of work it off like that. And I see the problem already. I'll show you in just a moment. One thing I like to do right off the bat, let's just give the motor cord a tug and just make sure these things move in and out. Okay, they do. That rules out any internal pump problems. The problem that I see, if you look deep down inside there, look in that middle one there. I don't know if you guys can see that, but that valve is shredded. So to get those out, it's a bit of an ordeal. Now yes, you could go and replace the whole pump head, but again, this is a $200 part right here. These valves are not that expensive. I think they're about 30 bucks for a set. Might need a different tool there. Can we do it with needle nose? Let's see if we can remove them with this pick. Can we get under there and just pull up? Nope. That's not going to work. What else can we do? We need to grab the outside of this and pull up. Just try a regular old pair of pliers. go. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess in there. Next, we want to very carefully pull this piece out here. There's another seal below that right here. Probably going to replace these seals depending upon what they cost. That should give you guys a better look at what's going on in there. See, that valve has all come apart in that center one. The one on that side doesn't look a whole lot better, quite honestly. Probably get some parts out of it if we just go like this, right? No, maybe not. I can extract them manually. That's part of it. The spring. Didn't really see where it went, but it's there somewhere. And we got the rest of the valve assembly down here, which is just a piece of plastic. You really do not want to come out though. Okay, I have a quick update. I looked online to see what parts for this thing cost. So I think I mentioned before, the whole pump is about 260 bucks. This whole manifold assembled is about 220 bucks. And the parts that I need to fix it, namely a seal kit and check valves, that's going to be about 75 bucks plus shipping. So knowing that this pump, not knowing its history and just knowing it has kind of a checkered reputation, and the fact that the rest of the check valves kind of disintegrated once I got in there and tried to take them out, I think I am going to end of life this pump, and I'm going to replace the entire pump. So we'll take this apart. We'll use this as an autopsy video to see how these things work, but I'm not going to put any more money into this pump. I did find on eBay a broken cat pump. I think it's a 3DX pump, which is a commercial grade pump. This is not. A couple things to look for when determining the commercial gradeness of a pump are whether or not it's a triplex plunger pump, whether or not it has a brass manifold, the type of pistons that it has or plungers. These are metallic from the looks of it. The cat pump has ceramic ones. So overall, it's just a better design. Cat has a very good reputation in the industry, so if I'm gonna invest money in a pump, I'd rather invest it in a Cat than this one. So I guess the next order is let's get this pump housing off the motor, and then we can dissect it. All right, so now the cat pump, 75 bucks for that one. And I guess we'll see what it needs. That one might be a simpler problem. Might be a simple unloader problem. Might be a check valve problem, we don't know. But again, at least if I'm gonna invest money in a pump, I want it to be a good one. Righty tighty, lefty loosey, right? There we go. So sometimes these pumps, if they've been on there a while, they can be a bit of a bear to remove. We'll see how this one stacks up. It's just a couple of 1/2-inch bolts. It's a real shame that parts are so expensive for this thing relative to the cost of the whole pump. If the manifold was 50 bucks, I'd probably put that into it. Let's see, is it gonna move? Yeah, we're gonna move. Sweet. It's probably a keyway that we're gonna have to loosen, so. Alright, let's find that. See if there's a set screw in there. Hopefully you guys can see in there. I'm just going to pull the cord over slowly. We're going to see if a set screw appears. So far I don't see anything. Maybe there isn't one. Got all 4 bolts removed. Let's see if the pump just slides off. It'd be way too easy if it did, right? It's moving. Get a screwdriver and give it some gentle persuasion. What do you think? She's coming. There we go. So we'll clean that crankshaft up a bit, put some fluid film on there to keep it from getting stuck like that again. Let me set the pump aside for now. Let's turn our attention to the motor. So let's turn our attention to the motor, like I said. I'll take the carb off because we ran it before. It only run on full choke, so we probably have a stale fuel / carburation issue. Nothing that a typical bath and the ultrasonic cleaner can't fix, right? Just a couple 10mm nuts. I don't think I've worked on one of these smaller Honda motors in a while. Normally I work on the GX390s. Don't really see the smaller ones all that often. GX390 has a bolt at the top of the air cleaner housing going straight down. Let's see if this one has one too. Yep, it does. Another 10mm bolt right here. I realize you guys can't see it, but you will. Can't miss it. Looks like this hose has seen better days here. We'll replace that. Ooh, yeah, our carb is a little nasty. We're actually leaking gas. That's why my garage smells horrible. I'm guessing our needle in the seat is probably all boogered up. Let's remove our fuel line clamp right here. I can remove the line from the carburetor. Make sure the tank has no gas in it when you do this, obviously. Or put a clamp on the line, as I'm doing. So what's still holding us? Let's pull this gasket off. There it goes. Okay, yep, we tore that gasket. Awesome. It just pops up like that. And the spring just gently unhooks. Like so. There's the other half of our gasket, so we'll have to order a new one of those. But there's our carburetor. Pretty nasty, at least on the outside. Since we're going to go through the trouble of cleaning the carb, let's get all the crappy gas out of the tank so I can just have this spare piece of hose rigged up to go into a waste container. I could be wrong, but this carburetor actually looks like a clone carburetor. Keihin, Keihin? That doesn't sound like a Japanese part. It's not one of the usual suspects that you see in the carb industry. So I wonder if this has been replaced. Because I think the clone carbs are what, like 15, 16 bucks? Like even the Honda, oh, that was loose. I think even the Honda ones are pretty inexpensive. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, it's pretty nasty. Gross, right? Looks like this thing has some water contamination too. I don't know, we might end up carbing this thing, but we'll see. We'll take off the sediment bowl. Be some gas in there. Next we'll take out the main jet and the emulsion tube. For that you just need a flat blade screwdriver. They usually come out without too much fuss and bother. There we go. Sometimes it helps for them to go through the ultrasonic cleaner for a pass too, before they come out easily. Okay, so there's our main jet. Take a screwdriver and pop that emulsion tube down. Sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. Oops, sorry about that. This one came out just like so. Alright, I think this carburetor is ready for a bath. Okay, let's put all of our small parts in this small parts bin so we don't lose anything. Some of these parts are non-magnetic and may not want to come out the ultrasonic cleaner too easily. It's just warm water right now. Great opportunity to clean up any tools that you may have gotten dirty in the process. Now I'm just going to throw some of this all-purpose simple green cleaner in there. I'm not a fond of this lemon stuff. It doesn't seem to clean as well, but I just want to use up this gallon. Let's just, oh wow, look at that. Seeing some action already. This is just warm water and simple green. There, gallon's done. Let that cook for a while. After about 4 minutes, already cleaning up quite nicely. I think my tools are clean enough. I did forget to disassemble one part of the carb. Take out this screw right here, which I believe is the idle adjustment. This plastic screw holds in a plug that you can remove. That plug is right here. So just take a flat blade screwdriver and carefully pry this up. Just like so. Let the cleaning fluids get all the way in there. This does look like a clone carb. There's no O-ring on here. Yeah, I don't know. We polishing a turd with this. Okay, it's about a half hour later. I think we're done. Let me go hose these parts off in the sink. Overall, though, they're looking pretty good. I can check them periodically. There's our carburetor. A lot cleaner than it was. Let me go hose this stuff off. All right, all cleaned up and dried off. Let's start the reassembly process. I'm going to do a bit of research on this carb. See if this really is a clone or not. Oh, still a little wet here. The left compressor goes in like so. Let's get our emulsion tube and our main jet. We'll screw those back in. Put our bowl back on. Going to put that on finger tight for now. Really bought a nice piece of trash this time, didn't I? The one time I spend some money to help you guys out, entertain you, kind of backfires. Thought it was going to be a simple pump repair, carb rebuild. That may still be the case, but it's a little sticky. This does not feel like, this does not have like a genuine Honda high quality feel to it. All right, I'm going to order some gaskets and whatnot, order one of those tubes for the air box that goes to the valve cover. I'll do some research on this carb and we'll pick it up once everything arrives. While we're waiting for parts to arrive, let's mess around with this old pump a little bit. Let's take this fitting off here. Looks like a 10mm again. Let's see. Yep. I gloved up because the edge of this pump is super sharp. Don't really feel like going to the ER today. Go. I was hoping that would give me clear access to the back on one of these check valves, but it does not appear that was the case. That's a really tiny water inlet. Look how small the diameter of that thing is. Wow. I wonder if we can push one of these valves out just by catching the side of it. Not easy to do. Oh, got this one. There we go. That's what's left of one of the valves. Can we get the others out? That's gonna be tricky because I don't have access to the back of them like I did on that one. Let me work on this a bit. I might be able to use this lag screw as a puller. I might have to take this valve more, destroy more of it though, because I have to be able to get through that little metal piece that flutters. Let's take out our seals just before I damage something. Can see a little bit better now too. These things are in there really well. Okay, I think I got this destroyed enough where I could probably thread this lag screw in there, sort of. Nope, that didn't work. That lag screw didn't work. Maybe I could try one of those easy outs for like screw extractor. I'm just guessing here, guys. I mean, I don't have a secret decoder ring for this. This actually has the valve turning. There we go. Look at that. That's a cool little trick. So use a screw extractor. Destroy the valve and use a screw extractor. Let's try that last one. Didn't really destroy this one yet. Let's give it a shot. No, I think I will have to destroy it. You can still see there's like plastic particles and whatnot in this one. Let's just carefully, gently eliminate those pieces. There we go. Let's try that again. So I wonder what caused this to fail. Do you think it was just lack of maintenance? Running it too hot? Combination of those two. Snug this up a little bit. There we go. Cool trick. Very proud of myself. If anybody needs to know the size, these are size... What size is this? It's designed for, it says 1/4 inch drill. Trying to get you a part number on this. Number 4. All right, let's do the same thing up top here. These valves seem okay though. But if we're ordering a valve kit, might as well replace them all, right? But these are not falling apart in my hands like the other ones. Okay, let's use our friend Mr. Screw Extractor. You do have to make this thing kind of tight so it holds on to it. There you go. Oh, I don't mind spending 25 bucks or so and try to put a valve kit in this thing just for fun and see if it works. So this one came out all by itself. Oh no, it came apart all by itself. Never mind. These valves are pretty smoked. Now, I've not seen any YouTube videos of anybody doing this procedure right here. Super easy with the screw extractor. Saw a video of a guy just replacing the whole manifold. Yeah, you can do that, but it's an expensive part. There we go. Our manifold is now bare. Probably going to clean it up and polish it a little bit, and then I'll get a valve kit ordered. Okay, it's a couple days later. Got a box today from the folks at Parts Tree, not a sponsor. I did some research on that carburetor that I thought was a clone carb. It actually is not. It looks like an OEM one, so my mistake there. Not seen that OEM supplier before. So I ended up buying a couple extra things that I probably didn't mention. I bought an air filter because the grommet of the other one was detached and it looked like it was going to be too much work to reattach it. Got the intake gaskets that I think I mentioned to you guys. I also got some governor springs. Let's see, the tube for the valve cover. I'll show you why I got the governor springs. So if you look carefully, it looks like someone had their way with this spring. Just bent it all. I don't know what they were doing. So we'll replace that. I don't really know why, but whatever. I also noted that this little this spring here that's on the throttle linkage, which is designed to take up the slack in the throttle linkage, has a little booger in it right there. So these parts are cheap enough. I just decided to replace them. So I think to get started with that, we have to remove the fuel tank. It's been a while since I've done this, so just forgive me. This Honda GX motors are just so darn reliable. I don't get a chance to work on them all that often. Is this a 10? Yeah. Hit them with a little bit of penetrating oil. They look a little rusty, which is not unusual for a pressure washer. Okay, those are cracked loose. I think there's a nut on the other side too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, definitely. Thinking maybe it's that bolt right there. Let's see. Let me take the spark plug out before I break it. Spark plug, the number one over-replaced item on a small engine. It wasn't very tight. See how she looks. Looks like a OEM plug. Running a little rich. Guessing that's probably the result of the machine running on full choke, seeing as how it wouldn't run on anything else. All right, let's see if we can buzz that bolt out now. Hopefully it's the right one. Looks like that did something. Okay, just move the tank aside. There we go. A little stuck. Okay, I got the tank off, just had to jiggle it a bit. So now, I know someone's messed with this, so I'm a little hesitant to just hook it back up the way it is, but I see these paint marks here. So I think that means that was checked, but I see there's 4 holes here. 1, 2, 3, 4 for this spring. I'm not sure which one it goes into. I think I'm gonna try to just use the one that's there, and worst case, we take the tank off again and move it. It's not the end of the world. So let's grab our new spring. Like so. We'll unhook this mess. Could I fix this? Probably, but is it worth it? Spring's cheap. There we go. Put our new spring in there. And this thing was just kind of folded over here, so I'm not sure where it came out of over here, but I do see a paint mark right here. So we'll go with that. I am going to need pliers for that though. If anybody knows for sure if I'm doing this wrong, please chime in. No, that doesn't seem right. Feels like it could remove itself. I'm gonna need to do some more research on this. Okay, the service manual has this in the same spot, so I'm gonna run with it. Worst case, something weird happens, we can always change positions and experiment. It's just annoying because it'd take the fuel tank off to do so. Now let's do this spring. It's all messed up. Okay, there we go. Let's get the carb gaskets on. That doesn't really feel right. Let's try that. That seems to make more sense. This is the tricky part. There's a tiny little hole down there you're going after. And this just slips in on top like so. That doesn't seem right. Why does this spring keep on popping out? All right, I changed my mind. We're gonna go with this hole right here and this hole back there. It's probably wrong, but the spring doesn't fall off this way, and you can't have the spring falling off. So if the speed is different or anything, I can adjust it with this screw right here. All right, next step is this insulator here. And then our air box and tube to the valve cover, which if you recall, on the old one, it was a little rotten. So we're going to put this new tube here, stick it right on there, like so. Then this feeds. Oops. Got to make sure all your controls are pointing in the right direction here. We're going to reinstall our bolt up here. Notice I shoved this tube into the valve cover here. Put our 10mm nuts on the front. We'll snug them down in a minute. Might be easier to get the fuel tank back on first. Let's see. This fuel line has to slide all the way down here. It might be okay. Nah, let's take this piece off. I changed my mind. All right, admittedly, I did that mostly for your benefit so you guys could see. Hopefully. Let's get our fuel tank back in position over here. Okay, those mounting studs are in. And let's just all right, so maybe it was more than just for your benefit. It made it a lot easier for me too. We'll move this clamp down too. There we go. Reinstall that fuel tank bolt real quick. Beautiful. Okay, let's put this piece back on, because any job worth doing once is worth doing twice. What are we getting hung up on? Oh, choke. There we go. All right, that should do it up here. All right, let's reattach our air cleaner. Don't forget the seal. And yes, I know I could have reattached this air cleaner, but I chose not to. When I say air cleaner, I mean the grommet at the top of it. Goes on there like that. All right. So we put our spark plug back in, this thing should be ready to fire. Okay, threw a little anti-seize on the spark plug threads. Snug it down with the ratchet. There we go. Sorry about that. I like to throw a little bit of dielectric grease on the spark plug just to make it easier to remove at some future date. And we'll throw the boot back on until it clicks, like that. I misspoke. That screw buried in there I mentioned earlier is actually not. Wait, is it? Yeah, I guess it is a high-speed stop. Never mind. What am I talking about? All right, I got some gas for this thing. Let's load it up and give her a test run. I do have my optical tachometer out just to look at the crank speed because we did muck with the governor system. If everything pans out nicely with the motor, we'll turn our attention to the pump. There's some fuel in here. Don't need much just to get it going. This fuel does have stabilizer in it. That should be enough to get us started. Look for any obvious fuel leaks. See none, we'll turn the fuel on. We already know it has oil. It is in the on position. Oh wait, we do have a fuel leak. Well, that's leaking at a fairly good pace, my. may have been my own stupidity. This was a little loose, as is apparently the bowl. Let's try that again. Whoa, that looks worse. I wonder if our needle and seat is sticky. Got everything sort of apart again. Let's see where we're leaking out of. I'm guessing we're leaking out of here. If we are, that's the needle and seat. Yeah, I think we are. Just leaking out the backside instead. All right, let's see what's going on here. Oh, that's interesting. I must have missed the needle and the float altogether. How did I do that? I made a mistake, folks. Sorry about that. Notice that this pin didn't even go through the float. That's definitely our problem. There we go. That's how it should be. Man, don't I feel dumb. I guess we all make mistakes though, right? What sets us apart is how we learn from them and react to them. Sad thing is, it's probably not the first time I've done that. I will say that I learned something though. We're gonna leak check this before we throw it back in the motor. Okay, got everything just kind of sitting there loose. Got the fuel hooked back up. Let's open the valve and see what happens. Hopefully nothing. I didn't tighten the bowl nut all that much. We might have a little leak there, but we'll see. So far, so good. Lovely. Now my garage smells like gasoline. Let that sit for a moment. A couple minutes later, everything's still dry, so I'm going to put it back together again. All right, take two. Let's see if she fires. Got the fuel on, choke on, no leaks. Seems like she will. Might need a little more speed. Cool, let me open the garage door. All right, it's a little unsteady, but she runs well enough for now. Noticed a couple loose bolts while it was rattling around. This one on from this motor to frame bolt had no nut on it, so we'll take care of that later. All right, I think now it's time to get on to the actual pressure washing unit. I'm sorry, before I move on, I don't know if you guys saw it, but the tachometer is reading 3,300, 3,400 RPMs. I think that's fine for now. I'm not going to adjust that. If I feel like we're not getting adequate performance out of the pump, then we'll revisit that, but for now it's fine. Okay, now that we got the motor running pretty smoothly, or relatively smoothly, let's turn our attention to the pump. You may notice this new one in the picture, or not new. I picked this up off eBay. It's a CAT pump, which is a very good brand name. It's a 3DX29 GSI. It's an older discontinued model, but I got it for 60 bucks. I mean, you can't really go wrong there. Doesn't make pressure, but there could be a lot of reasons for that. It could be just something as simple as the unloader, or it could be, one of the check valves. But we'll get onto that later. For now, let's work on the pump that came with this thing. At least get that working. So these are the parts that it needed. You saw me take the other ones out in pieces. So these are those new check valves. Now to install them, well, let me first start by saying these are really inexpensive. They were $17 shipped for all of them. So yeah, I hope they work. They're OEM parts supposedly, so in theory they should work. Now it comes with installation instructions, which is very nice. So let's start by just coating the O-rings of those valves with a little bit of plumber's grease, just to ease the installation process. For that I'm just using a little bit of Danco plumbing grease, nothing fancy or expensive. Just putting a little light coat on this O-ring down here. Like so. And we'll just drop the valve in the manifold. I did clean this manifold up in ultrasonic cleaner. The instructions say to use a 1/4-inch drive socket to push the check valve in. So I think that's it, just like that. Slides right in. So I'll just do this for the remaining valves. I didn't see too many videos on YouTube going through this process. I don't know if I mentioned that before. So I kind of had to figure this one out myself. Hopefully this helps somebody. Again, I'm just using a little bit of light pressure. Let me get you guys a little bit closer. That's better. Just drop it in like so. Okay. Those three are in. Now we're going to turn our attention to these down here, which were the difficult ones to remove. Not that any of them were easy, but they're a bit more difficult than the others. So we'll drop that in there like so. Take our socket and just give it a push. I think I mentioned earlier that you could just replace this whole manifold, but this manifold's $200 for a $260 pump. Why would you do that? Replace the parts that are broken. And now the last one. And like I said, if this doesn't work or the pump works for a while and takes a dump, we have that cat we can mess with. Those valves all feel seated. All right. Now we can reassemble this thing. Let's put our high pressure seals back in. These seals are expensive, so if they're no good, we're going to shift our attention to that cat pump. There we go. can install these, and I think these just kind of, let me lubricate these O-rings a little bit. Hopefully that'll be better. One. Two. This stuff is sticky. Three. And it looks like in the kit they give you new O-rings for these plugs. Let's take these off. Just using a seal pick. A bent seal pick apparently. That's not working. Hopefully I unbent it. Let's give that another shot. There we go. Right tool for the job, right? Slip that new O-ring on there. They're tough little O-rings. You guys get the idea. Okay, got all three of these O-rings installed and lubed up. I've heard from some that you need to Loctite these things and they loosen up. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not going to worry about it right now until I know if this pump works. Okay, I threw a tiny bit of oil in these plungers. Let's put the manifold back on and see what happens. Here we go. Okay, our long bolts go here, here, and here. And our three short bolts go here, here, and over here. Let's tighten them down. Use our 5mm Allen. Just work your way around the pump. Okay, I did those in a crisscross manner, starting from the center and working my way out to either side. Let's use our 10mm Allen and snug these plugs down. Okay, still have our unloader to put in. I'm gonna lube up these O-rings once again. I'm hoping this is what's wrong with that cat pump. It just needs an unloader, or maybe it just needs the unloader to be unstuck. Maybe I'll get luckier than I did with this pump. Just screw the unloader back in here. And snug it down with a wrench. And 7/8 wrench if you forgot. Time to install our garden hose inlet right here. I put a little OD Great White, this stuff, on the threads just to seal it up. You could use Teflon tape too, but I personally don't care for that stuff. And we'll use our 10mm Allen to snug this up. Whoops. Probably best to put it on the Allen socket first. And just snug that down. We'll put a little thread sealant on our thermal relief valve as well, just like we did on the inlet. My inlet might actually leak. I felt like I skimped on the thread sealant a little bit. We'll see. You can always reseal it. Stuff works great though. Can't remember the last time I used Teflon tape. I think this was what, a 5/8 wrench? You guys remember? Sure was 5/8. You get the idea. All right, folks, that's one pump down. This one's good to reinstall and give a try. But first, let's take the cat pump apart, at least assess it and see if we can figure out what's wrong with it just by looking at it. All right, here's our cat pump. Where do we want to start? Let's take these plugs out and get a look at the check valves from the top. Might be a little bit difficult to do with this thing not attached to anything. Oh, maybe not. Maybe someone's been in here already. These pieces are usually kind of tight. Like that one. Put a glove on before I rip up my hand. Take it. Oh, geez, that one's tight. Gravity on our side. There we go. Now, if we see melted plastic cages or broken plastic cages, that kind of tells us what's wrong right away. Yeah, so that's the problem with filming with your cell phone. Get a phone call, everything's interrupted. Not seeing any obvious problems with the valves yet. The seller of this claimed that used it last season with no problems, winterized it, and then this year it made no power, or no pressure rather. So yeah. Let's see if we can yank one of those out without breaking it. These things are expensive. It's about $100 for a kit. I also don't want to break them if they are fine. Let's turn our attention to the unloader since I don't see an obvious problem with the valves. Actually, you know what? Let's take the whole manifold off and we'll get a look at the plungers and everything. Once again, a 5mm Allen. Hopefully I didn't just waste 60 bucks. Maybe some chemicals will run through this thing. See, like a chalky powder in these bolts, see? Now this pump should have ceramic plungers, unlike the AAA, which I think had some kind of metallic plungers. But these won't be chipped or cracked because they're expensive too. Alright, let's separate these guys. Okay. Plungers look fine visually. Beautiful. At least that part's okay. You can see deep down inside there, maybe. Let me turn the light up a little bit. Kind of further confirms the check valves look okay. I don't see anything that's melted or nasty in there. I don't see any obvious problems with the high pressure seals. And the guy did say it wasn't leaking. So our problem might just be in the unloader. Okay, I do see what might be a problem with the valves. I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see this, but in this middle valve there, all the way down there, I see a spring on the top and on the bottom. I only see one spring on that side and one spring on this side, so I'm wondering if maybe a spring came out somewhere. Let me take this unloader off now. So our unloader is under here. So unscrew that, take our spring out. Looks pretty nasty in there. I think they're 3/4. Yep, 3/4. Remove this off screen. There we go. You can get a whole unloader for this thing for 50 bucks. So the loader kind of looked like it came apart. Not supposed to come out in that many pieces. Okay, got the rest of it apart. Just keep unscrewed. The unloader seat doesn't look so bad. Like this surface right here. It just looks so nasty. Aha! Remember I thought I saw a missing spring? It's right down in there in the unloader bore. You can see it. Look at the bottom. Look right down in that area there. See if I can fish it out and show you guys. So yeah, we need a valve set for this thing, unfortunately. Here's one of our missing springs I just fished out with a pick. There's probably more in there. So we're definitely getting a valve kit for this thing, so. Is there a trick to getting these out? Oops, sorry about that. Let's try our same trick with the easy out. These might be too big though. Yeah, these valves are too big. They don't fit. Never mind. How are we going to get these out? Okay, I was able to find a bigger screw extractor. So I'm just turning, oops, sorry. It's not easy. I'm just turning and pulling and hitting you guys in the process. Oh, well, you look at that. These valves have screw threads. No easy out needed. Nice design, Cat. So all you really need to do is catch a couple threads and yank. Much easier, wouldn't you say? Alright, I didn't get as lucky with this pump as I was hoping. Not a complete throwaway, thankfully, but it's going to need a check valve kit. It is going to need an unloader, and it may also need a seal kit. I guess that remains to be seen. So let's start with the easy stuff, or I guess the more difficult stuff and the stuff we know it needs. We know it needs these check valves, and we know it needs an unloader. So let me get those parts ordered, and we'll pick it up some other time. Maybe not part of this video, maybe a follow-up, because I want to stay focused on the goalpost here, which is that pressure washer, and getting it going. Let's start to put the new pump back on. I like to coat the crankshaft with just a little bit of oil here, just so that if we ever need to take this pump off again, it's not going to be a real bear to do so. Just using fluid film. I have the crankshaft all cleaned up. I cleaned it up with some Scotch-Brite. This fluid film will also help prevent corrosion too. So let's put this collar on that was on the crankshaft. Put our key. Then we'll put the pump back on. Looks like we need to turn the crankshaft a little bit. There we go. Snug those down. Okay, we'll just snug these bolts down with a 1/2 inch wrench. All right, we should be ready for a water test. Okay, got my garden hose hooked up. Got a pressure washer hose plumbed in with my spray nozzle over there. Got all the lines bled. Let's give her a try and see what happens. Maybe we'll get lucky. All right, everybody, I think that's a wrap. So, in summary, picked up this pressure washer with a quote-unquote broken pump for 200 bucks. I put $10 in parts into this pump, spent about 40 bucks in the motor. A lot of it was just in shipping charges, quite honestly, for those springs and gaskets and that air filter. And we have a working, probably $600-$700 pressure washer. Yeah, so that's it. If I decide what I'm going to do with that other cap pump, I'll set up another video. Until then, thanks for watching, stay safe, and thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.